Good afternoon, my name's Stephen Fitzgerald. I'm the chairman and the founder of MWWT, that is Men and Women Working Together. This is the first interview that I'm doing for the Voices of Children. This is the children of fathers who are abused by their wives and as such don't get listened to by anybody. So the first person I'm going to be speaking to this afternoon, for his own safety, I'm calling him Manor. There'll be no places where he's been born or anything like that at all. So I'm going to start firing some questions at him and allow him to speak in his own good time. So the first thing is that your parents, were they actually married or cohabiting?
Cohabiting.
They were cohabiting.
Yes.
And roughly how many years were they together?
Probably about 2 years.
2 years. And then what happened at the end of the 2 years?
My father kicked my mother out because she was being mentally abusive towards him at the time of them being together. And then she went on to continue to send him letters, and unfortunately he killed himself when I was 2.
Can I just get that one again? He kicked her out?
Yeah, so he kicked her out when she was pregnant with myself.
Yeah.
And it was basically because of the way she was treating him.
Yeah.
And the controllingness of her. And then when I was 2 years of age, she was sending him letters to tell him that he would never see me and that she's got a new partner and so on and so forth. Then he took it upon himself to unfortunately take his own life.
Right.
Due to my mum's actions.
So sorry, that's where I've taken it wrong. When you're saying he kicked her out and you were still with the mother?
Yes, of course, yes.
So he was denied access to you?
Yeah.
And then he committed suicide?
Yeah.
So take it on from there.
So the abuse with my mother, she was an alcoholic and drug user as I was growing up. She very much resented myself for being my father's child, I suppose. From the get-go, as a child, we didn't have much money. She was very abusive towards me. I used to get hit on a regular basis, daily. Daily she would hit me, shout at me, scream at me, throw things at me, hit me with objects, such as shelving and Hoover pipes. That was her choice. She loved the Hoover pipe. So she used to hit me with all sorts and whatever she could to sort of bring pain to myself. And then she got with another bloke called who is the father of my brothers. She had 2 children with him. One of the children, the youngest, being her favourite per se. She was very much loving towards him and resented myself and my middle brother. The middle brother didn't sort of endure as much abuse as myself physically, but he endured a lot of mental abuse and witnessed a lot of mental abuse towards his father. Growing up,
you dished it out to the father as well?
Yeah, so it was very much so with his my brother's father's father. When he died, my mum slashed his push bike tyres and stuff, and then cut up chains from my brother's father's deceased's mother, and cut up her jewellery and things to get to him. That was more the mental side of the abuse. When my mum had a drink, she would come home and just hit me for no reason. I would see it as no reason. It would be if I haven't done the hoovering around the house, or and as a 7-year-old to be doing hoovering and stuff and chores. I don't see how that should be happening in this society. I told lots of social workers and professionals about the abuse happening towards myself, and the police as well, but they didn't believe me. They took on board what my mum said, and only what my mum said, because my mum was always right, according to them.
So they took no notice of what you were saying to them?
Nothing at all. And I told them within great detail. There was a time when my mum actually, I was 13 years of age at this point, and it was probably the worst beating I've ever had from her. I hadn't done the dishes, but I'd put them into soak. I had done the washing for my brother's school uniform, put my brothers to bed, I'd fed them, watered them, so on and so forth. And then my mum come back completely out of it, asking me why haven't I done the dishes, why haven't I done this, why haven't I done that. And then she went on to proceed to go into the kitchen. She ripped the shelf off the wall and started hitting me with it. Until
How
I
old were you at that age?
12, 13 years of age. It had been late 12, early 13. And she hit me multiple times with the shelving. I was bleeding, I had bruises on my face that were coming up within the instant of her hitting me. And it got to the point where I was sort of not feeling pain anymore, if that makes sense, and it was more
shock.
Yeah, and I started laughing, not to laugh at her to annoy her, but more nervous. I was hurting and I was so scared. I honestly thought at that moment in time my life was over. When she kept hitting me with the metal Hoover pipe, I was blacking out and I could see myself. Sort of everything was becoming blurry. It was becoming daisy and it wasn't nice at all. And at that point I started crying and I was begging my mum to stop. And she didn't stop. And so I took it upon myself to push her. Not hard. I pushed her to get her away from me. I would never ever lay my hands on a female at all.
To protect yourself.
Just literally to stop her killing me, if you like. And I pushed her away and she made a big drama about it and fell over and phoned the police. And I ended up getting charged for battery on my mother.
And you were how old?
I was 13. And I told the police what had happened to the T, told them everything. And because of the fact that I had opened up to the police and I told my mum when I got home that I'd opened up to the police, I then incurred another beating from my mum for that. That's when I took it upon myself to say I'm not doing this anymore, and I left home and moved in with one of her friends who...
How old again at this stage? About
13.
13, yeah.
And she had me staying on a sofa and on the floor. I didn't have any structure, I had no bedroom, I wasn't going to school. So it got to about, this went over the summer holidays, so from about July time all the way to September. And in September when we went back to school, I took upon myself to tell the teachers and tell the pupil and family support workers within the school that what was going on at home. And I finally opened up to people and told people the truth about what was happening. Because my mum was very much, when I was a child, making me lie about it to people. This didn't happen like that, you fell over, didn't you? It wasn't like you need to say this to protect me, it was more she got into my head and made me believe that that's how it happened.
Did she ever mentally abuse you during this period?
Yes, it was a lot of mental abuse towards myself, about my father and stuff, and how he killed himself because of me, it's my fault. I look like him, I should go and kill myself and be with him. It was very much along those lines, and if my mum was annoyed about that sort of thing to do with my father, she would then take it out on me. And she resented the fact that I looked like him and the fact that he kicked her out. So I think that she sort of, I don't know, pushed the anger from him towards me because she couldn't have it onto him.
She probably saw him in front of it with you.
Exactly. And I don't know, it got to a point in my life when I went into foster care when I was 13 because of, I went to the school and opened up about them and told them. They put me in a care home, and it was different. It was a different lifestyle. I was very scared to go into this care home because my mum used to threaten me growing up that she's going to phone social services, she's going to phone care, I'm going to be taken into a care home, I'll never see my family. And because of that I had this view on care homes and social workers that they're bad people, they're going to hurt me. And that was what she pushed onto me through that. And when I actually went into a care home, it wasn't the worst thing. I felt like I was safe. It was okay. I was away from this nastiness. But then she would still message me, but she was very clever with the messages, because she wouldn't ever abuse me on the messages per se, but she would say things that would upset me to the point where I would be depressed again. And then I suffered from depression throughout my childhood and now because of my mum. I
And how old are you now?
I'm 21 years of age now. I'm 22 next month.
Yeah.
And still to this day, I truly believe it never leaves you. I truly believe that it's always going to be part of you because it's your experience from life, but you learn to deal with it. And there's times where I find it really hard. In relationships, I'm in a relationship now and have been for about 3 years with my partner. She's absolutely amazing. But there'll be times where she could do something and not even mean to upset me or anger me per se, and I will get overly angry for no reason because of how she said something or how she's done something. It reminds me of my mum.
Yeah.
Like the other morning, and this is literally going back probably about 2-3 weeks. I got woke up by my partner. And I panicked because when I was a kid I got woke up on multiple occasions and got a slap as soon as I woke up, or a punch.
Yeah.
And she woke me up and she was over me and like trying to wake me up, and I panicked and I flipped out and I jumped up and I smashed my bedroom door. I tried to get out. It was just I panicked into the situation.
Flashback,
it was very much a flashback, and this is why I'm in talks now with the unit, and I'm talking to various different mental health liaison workers because of this is the time now where I've come to acceptance with what happened. It's happened. I can't do anything about that, but all I can do now is make a change. And if I can help other people that are going through something or have been through a similar situation, then all the better, because if I can stop something like that happening to a young lad that's going through something like this, then that would be absolutely amazing. And that's why me and my friends are starting something to do with mental health, so we can help younger people in the younger generation and the older generation with mental health through our business, which I think will be very beneficial to everyone. But with going back to my childhood and stuff, there was times where I believe that the hospital, police, doctors, social workers, they should have definitely took action, because my mum stopped feeding me to see how long I could survive without food, and she will say this to this day, that she done that for that reason. I used to have I was eating off the floor outside. I was eating out of the bins. It was bad, and I got bullied for all that when I was a child. So I was this trampy kid, by other peers around the area.
Yeah.
And no one sort of seen why, but then I got taken into hospital and put on a drip because I was so malnourished. And my social workers and stuff, they moved me to, I don't even know who the family was, I don't have a clue who they were, but I stayed there for a week. And I remember getting fed every morning. I had breakfast waiting for me on the table. I had dinner every day. I had tea every day, and it was absolutely perfect. And I thought, this is amazing. Like, my life's actually changed. And then it got to the Thursday evening, and a social worker or some form of social worker came round and picked me up and took me back to my mum's.
Sent you back to your mother's?
And I went straight back to my mum's from then on, and that was very surreal for myself, because I thought I'd been saved from this horrible, like, vindictive woman. And now I've gone back to her. And then for the first week of me being back with her, she was very much, it was okay, everything was like, it was a honeymoon period, if you like. And then she just went straight back to how she was.
How old were you when you went back?
7.
7?
6 or 7, yes. And even till this day now, Mum can very much, she can make you believe that she's okay and everything's fine, everything's going to be fixed, because she does it to me quite regularly. She'll phone me up and go, I want to move on from the past, I want to sort things out, and I'll go, okay, but we need to talk about it. And then as soon as you try and bring up a conversation about it, she'll kick off and revert back to how she used to be. And then even now I say to her, it's not because of the drink that you were like that with me, it's just you as a person. And she is an evil person.
How does she react to that when you say that?
It's shouting, screaming, straight back to reverting how she used to be, which just tells me that she's never going to change. So I'll always love her for being my mum, And I say this a lot to everyone that I meet. I'll always love my mum for being my mum, but I can never ever forgive her for what she done to me. She put me through something as a child that has affected my life and will.
How did it affect you when you were younger? I mean,
did
you self-harm, or
I tried to kill myself on multiple occasions. I used to scratch my arms. I say scratch because it wasn't cuts, it was scratches. It was little bits of plastic that I would scratch my arms. You can see now, I've still got scars on myself. That's actually from work. So, but these ones here are from when I tried to dig into my arm to look for my vein, and that was only 6 months ago.
Oh dear.
I mean, there's been times where I will go downhill.
Did you take to drink and drugs and like that?
At the time I started drinking a lot, and then sort of reverted back to going to how I was when I was a child, where I would take myself to my bedroom and try and tie like dressing gown cords around the like, wardrobes and try and hang myself on the wardrobe. I would tie different cord. It was mainly hanging as a kid. That's what I tried to do, is hang myself a lot. And then when I growing up, my mum had a padlock on my bedroom door that she would lock and shut me in the room. And at the time where I wasn't really strong enough to kick through a door, I tried to jump out the bedroom window and broke my ankle. I carried on running up the road, walking up the road, until I got halfway up the road and went to the floor in agony. The adrenaline obviously kept me going for that certain amount of time. And I remember going around to my mum, friend of the estate, say, he was lovely. I went to his house and he said to me, "You need to go to the hospital." So he took me to the hospital, and when I went back home, my mum, I had a plaster cast on at this point. They'd done it all, and I had plaster cast on, and I got a beating for when I got home for the fact that I had escaped from the house and caused problems for other people. And Mum was very much angry at me, I think, for not even undermining her. I think it was the fact that I could have gone and said something to people. She would try and
she worried about the truth coming out. Yeah,
she would try and keep me away from people as much as possible. She would let her friends hit me on a regular basis.
She let what?
She would let her friends hit me on a.
Her friends hit you?
Yeah, on a regular basis. Literally, there's no reasoning behind it. I don't agree with hitting children at all, but if I had done something wrong, I could sort of make sense of it in my head to why I got punished. But I didn't even do anything wrong ever. Yeah, fair enough, I would probably say you're a bad mum.
Yeah.
But I was speaking the truth.
So when did you sort of get free of this, you know?
From when I was about 13, 14, and I went into care, everything sort of started becoming okay. The physical abuse wasn't there because of my mum wasn't about, but the mental abuse still continued with my mum. Every time I spoke to her through social media, my mum would very much make out to her friends that she was this lovely person and I was evil. She used to call me the devil child. She used to think that I was this nasty person, which I wasn't. I was literally just trying to express that she shouldn't have been treating me like that, and when I tried to tell people about it, it would be a slap. When the people had disappeared, I was so petrified of the future, because if there was, say, like had people round or whatever, and people saw or I mentioned stuff that had happened, I knew that when they had left, I was going to incur quite a big beating for that. There was times when I was growing up that Mum would make me. My mum was a drug user and alcoholic, so drugs to me and alcohol was very open. I knew what it was from a young age.
Yeah.
Mum forced me when I was 7.5 years of age. She forced me to smoke with her, which what I know to be now is cannabis, and I was very sick.
I expect you were.
And she thought it was hilarious. She thought that was absolutely hilarious for her and her friends to see that. And then there were times where she would make me drink Lambrini, vodka.
And what age were you then?
I was probably about 6 when she made me drink vodka. I remember it quite clearly. She had this like Victorian. Wasn't Victorian, but it was made to look Victorian type of coffee table. And there was a pint of what I believed to be water at the time, and she got me to sip it, and I put it back down. I was like, that's disgusting.
So what was the second chap that moved in with her? What was he doing during this time?
He was very much, without sounding bad, and we're trying to keep it as politically correct as possible, I believe that my brother's father, has some description of special educational needs. He was very slow, if you were like. He wasn't switched on at all. It was almost like lights were on but no one was home. He was oblivious to it all. She was quite abusive towards him, but although I witnessed it and I seen that it didn't affect me as much as how she was with me, I didn't love that man. I knew from the get-go he wasn't my father. It was something inside me. My mum never told me until I was 7 that he wasn't my father, but I knew just from looking at him and how he was that.
And when your father committed suicide, did you find that out at the time? Or?
No, my father was 2 when he killed himself. My mum covered it up from me because she knew that she was the one that sent letters to him. She sent letters to my father saying, this is when I was born, saying, I've had our son, I've named him Louis, he was born on such and such, and then completely just changed how she was with him. She said, you can come and see him whenever you want, rah, rah, rah. And then the second letter was, I've got a new boyfriend, and this letter, I can still get hold of this letter now. It's up with my auntie. This letter says in the letter, you will never ever see your son. I have a new partner. He is now the father of your son. There is no need for you here. My father had struggling throughout his life with mental health issues. He got abused as a child, physically, sexually and mentally. He struggled with that, I believe. And unfortunately, he swallowed razor blades, drunk poison, and cut his wrists, and tried to hang himself, but suffocated himself. He got taken into hospital. He didn't die instantly. He got taken into hospital and died in the hospital, unfortunately. But that was because of I believe that was because of the letter that my mum had sent to him. She then obviously didn't want me to find out about all that and about that situation, so she covered it up and made up like this bloke was now my father, which I didn't believe at all. And then when I was 7, I had said to my mum, I was arguing. No, her partner told me to do something, and I said, you're not my dad, you can't tell me what to do. And he kicked off at me, and he slapped me around the back of the legs, and he wasn't known for that. He literally never ever laid his hands on me throughout my whole life. That was the only time he ever did. And from him doing that, I was so wow, starstruck that he'd done it, that I didn't realise what was going on. So I sort of sat on the sofa, and I was a bit intimidated and scared. And my mum was shouting in my face, and she used to do this thing where, so like if you have an aggressive dog and you dominate it by putting your head down to it, and they lie down and they submit to you. My mum had this, describe my mum as a dog, it's not, it's quite good to be fair. But no, she used to push her head onto my temple and push me to the floor as if I was a dog or something, or an animal of some description. And like, you can do nothing, you'll never do anything, you're not stronger than me, you can't do this, you can't do that. And just put me down. I would bring my work home and star cards home, which was a reward from school, like a certificate. I would bring it home and I would be happy, like, I've got this, look at what I've done. And it would be like, I don't care. And it would go straight into the bin. Anything I ever made, my mum would go straight into the bin. And I always wanted to be like every other child that I saw out. I always wanted to be happy and just have the normal family.
So generally speaking, you had quite a few years of the sort of mental and physical abuse then?
Very much so.
Sort of slapping and punching and...
Very much so. Open hand slaps, closed hand punches, elbows, knees, kicks, threw me down the stairs. She threw my youngest brother, who was her favourite, and she'd done this to hurt me. She tried to hit me, and I'd run off down the stairs. I ran into the living room, and she said to me, "I'll throw your brother down the stairs." And I said, "No, you won't do that." And then I've turned back to go back to them, obviously to stop this happening. And my little brother was probably about 2 years of age, and I walked round the corner, and she had picked my little brother up by the neck and threw him down the stairs. And he hit the radiator, and I've never seen a little baby cry so much. I didn't know what to do. I was only young myself. I panicked and grabbed my little brother and carried him across the road. So there was these people that worked in the hospital, and they were well known on the estate, that everyone knew that they worked in the hospital. And I ran him over there, and they said that his collarbone or something is broken. We need to get him to the hospital. So we took him to the hospital, and then my mum's come out and got in the car and made out like it was me that threw him down the stairs, and I didn't do that to my brother. I'd never hurt my little brothers. And she made out to social workers that I threw my brothers downstairs, and they all believed her. And I didn't. And I didn't do that. I wouldn't do that to my little brother, ever. I wouldn't hurt anyone. I have no means to. And she, when I got home, because I tried to tell the truth to the people in the hospital, when I got home, my mum absolutely hammered me. Like, it was the abuse that she put on towards me that day was more mental than physical, but it was so horrible because she had locked me in my bedroom. She had told me that I wasn't going to be leaving my bedroom for a week, and she wasn't going to feed me, and I was just begging for a drink. I just wanted a drink, and she wouldn't give it to me. I kicked a hole in the door, in the bottom of my bedroom door. They were only cardboard doors, they weren't hard at all.
Yeah.
And then I had the locks go, and I thought to myself, "Oh, I've won, she's going to let me out." And she had come in, and then her favourite toy was in her hand, the Hoover pipe, and she just started hitting me across the back and stuff. And I remember trying to run out, but she hit me like lengthways down the spine, and I sort of buckled myself and fell towards the floor. And then she kept trying to kick me towards the stairs, and then she dragged me into the bathroom. She put this flannel, if you like, or a cloth over my face, and chucked water over me, and then pulled it off my face, and then threw me in a cold bath that was in there. I don't know how long the water had been there, but she had threw me inside it, and tried to put my head under. And this was one of the times that I don't believe that she wanted to kill me, but she would shout stuff at me like, "I can kill you whenever I want, I can do this to you, and you can't do anything." And even as I got bigger, it wasn't until I was 17 and I was up in Leicester, my mum come up to me and she punched me in the face, and I literally just held her by her arms, and I pushed her onto the sofa, and I said to her, well, not pushed her, I guided her more, and just said to her, "I'm a big boy now, do not do that." And she panicked, I think, and slapped me across the face. So I picked up a pillow. I'd never ever lay my hands on a woman. I just can't bring myself to do it from the abuse that she put me through. I just feel like, not only, I know it's wrong, but not only that, is if I'd done that, am I going to get a massive beating? That's what I feel like. And from her doing that to me at that time, I just feel she destroyed me as a human now and as a child, because the effect that she's had on me to this day, I struggle going into shops, I struggle with building relationships with women. If you were a female, I wouldn't have been able to sit here and do this with you, because I would always feel that there's an automotive for it, there's going to be something that comes after. My partner, I was seeing her for 2 years before we actually even said to each other, "Let's go out for a date, let's go and do something together."
How do you manage with your partner, right? Well, you did explain
I
earlier.
struggle massively, and she's really good. She's amazing.
She knows all this, does she? Now?
She knows a lot. Some of it I struggle to tell her. I don't know, because I don't want her to think that I'm lying, or
No,
and
of course not,
it worries me.
So right here and now, how are these feelings improved? You still feel suicidal now and again?
Yeah. On a daily basis, I have thoughts about taking my life, and I manage them through being around people that make me happy, and being around people that need me, and helping people. If I help people, I feel like I've done someone a great.
Good. Well, we must do something to help you as well, and you know that, don't you?
Yeah. And I feel.
And what about your self-harming? Have you started doing that now?
For 4 or 5 months, I have, yes.
Good.
5 months ago, I took 100 and something tablets to end my life. Everything got too much. I couldn't control the process of why the abuse happened to me as a child. And I got some bad news to tell me that I can't have a child without IVF, and it really messed with my head, the fact that I thought in my head that I was never going to be able to give a child something that I didn't have. And that sent me down a real dark path. I fell out with someone that was very close to me, my best friend, and didn't see his son for a long time, and everything just got on top.
And the drink and drugs, so you're off that?
Yeah, well, I'll be honest, I self-medicate with cannabis in the evening, every other night. Sometimes every night, depending. I don't class.
Depending on your need, no doubt.
Exactly. I don't class myself as a druggie per se. I don't do anything heavier than cannabis, because I only do cannabis because it chills me out. It stops me feeling how I feel. And the tablets from the doctors don't do that. What they do is make me feel worse to start with, and then when I do feel bad, they just take over. That's why I took the tablets, I believe, because they put me on citralopram, which just
Well, as I told you, I'm going down to see, I think it's with my secretary, and I would like you and Heaven to come down with us. I think it will do both of you good.
That'd be amazing.
And thank you ever so much
No,
for this
thank you.
interview.
No, thank you. And I think people like yourself doing this, and just listening, just being there, it really does help. And the more people that could do this, the better. And the more people that see that men do struggle as well, like we do,
That's right.
like massively.
That's why I'm doing this.
We've got so much on our shoulders that we should be like this per se. This is how a man should be, but that's not the case. We're all human. We all have feelings, and we all have emotions that need to be dealt with. And if people look past the fact of a man can go through as much as a woman, then we're going to be in a real dull society where we're going to have people.
Well, there's a lot of change that's got to come in society. I mean, what's going on at the moment towards men is unforgivable, and that's why I'm doing all this. We've got to turn this round. Okay?
So thank you to you.
That's all right. Thank you.